anticipated that conversation with Professor Mearsheimer was definitely very provocative and very illuminating. One thing that it might not have been, though, is uplifting. That's just the nature of the events that we're required to cover here each week, and that as a result, we decided to introduce each Friday at the end of the show, at the end of our shows for the week, the last segment of the week, our installment we call System Update, where each week we feature the story of one of the dogs we rescued who lives with us at our house or who is in our shelter. The purpose of the segment is to show the trajectory and the rescue story, each individual rescue story of every dog. It usually has different lessons to learn, different things to discover from it. This week's star of the System Update episode is named Greg, or as it's pronounced in Portuguese, Gregi. And as you will see, he had a very horrific origin. He was very violently abused. He had a lot of the hallmarks of terrible abuse in the ways that dogs are mistreated. He had a lot of injuries and wounds. Someone found him on the street who had a lot of empathy for dogs, but he did not have the capability to bring him home and care for him. And so through friends, he found us and gave it to us. We kept him at our house. He recuperated physically, and he turned into an extremely affectionate dog. It's one of those dog rescue stories that really makes dog rescue so gratifying, but it also illustrates the kinds of things you can learn from a dog and its resilience, and also the ways in which life can so easily change just through the bare minimum of affection and love that every living being deserves. Here is our System Update installment for this evening, starring Greg. All right, so the star of this episode's System Update is actually the dog that is the newest, most recently arrived dog in our house. His name is Greg, or in Portuguese, Gregi, which is what everyone here calls him. He definitely was abused. He had somehow escaped wherever he was, but he had these hideous chain marks around his neck, just having been on a chain for so long. The chain marks were digging into his neck. You can actually see some of the areas where the chain was. It's been a couple months, so he's now like almost fully healed, but you can still see some of the places where the hair is not growing correctly.
Olha só a covardia. Resgate ontem atrás da igreja de São Sebastião, 11 horas da noite. Jogaram fora, enrolado num saco plástico. Olha o estado desse cachorro. No mínimo, ele foi amarrado com... Peraí, calma. Amarrado com arame e cortou o pescoço dele. Olha.
Quantos buracos tem, ó? 2. Aqui, ó.
He was very dirty. He was full of worms. He had anemia. He was on the street, just kind of wandering around. There's like a certain kind of way that homeless, abandoned dogs wander. It's kind of like a desperation. They just have nowhere to go. They just kind of like sort of run because they want to stay safe. They're on guard. They don't trust anyone yet. But you can see they're just aimless. They don't know where they're going. They don't know what they're doing. They need food. They need water. They don't feel well, but they have to keep moving. They can't just stop. And that's exactly what he was like. He was one of those dogs that almost immediately recovered. Like as soon as we took him here, within a day, he trusted everybody. He loved everybody. He wanted to just play. He got slowly better over time. We actually tried to find a home for him for a while, and probably still are. I don't know. It'd be pretty hard to part with him at this point, but for the right home and the right person, I might do so. He's pure mutt. He doesn't. There's maybe a little bit of poodle. I don't know. It's very hard to tell. He's really a street dog. He's just one of those pure mutts. And honestly, in my experience, mutts make, in a lot of ways, the best dogs. There are exceptions. The dog that was closest to me was almost a pure miniature pincher that we found only because this couple bought him, this horrible gay couple that wanted to buy a very expensive dog to show off their friends. And after they did that, they were like, oh, we don't want him destroying all our art and all our furniture, and strongly implied that they were going to abandon him on the street to David one day at a party. And David was like, we're going to your house right now and picking him up. And that became like the dog closest to me. So that was a pure breed. But in general, mutts like this are super healthy. They're very smart. They're super affectionate. They don't have like some pure breed behavior embedded into their DNA. So They can be almost anything. They're very adaptable. And this dog, look at him. He's just super sweet. Look at how he just wants to sit here in my lap, just kind of chill, hang out. He loves to play. He runs. He's very good with other dogs. And this is kind of like a classic dog rescue story where you find a dog that's abused. But for him, oftentimes the dogs that are abused take a long time to heal mentally, longer than physically. With him, for whatever reason, he is such a trusting dog that despite the abuse he endured, he just immediately started loving everybody. He made himself very much at home right away here. I've taken him to the studio several times, and he adapted very, very quickly, which is kind of unusual, but that just shows his disposition. He's still pretty much a puppy, like maybe a year and a little bit old, so he might even grow some more. But yeah, this is one of the easier rescue stories, but obviously very gratifying as well.